Hey y'all, it's Bree again, back again with a song dissection. This time we have Blue Jeans off of my debut album, Until Next Time. So this song is pretty repetitive, I guess is the way to describe it, but I wanted it to be very powerful. And I'll explain some of the things I did to make that happen, or at least try to make that happen. So 110 BPM up here. Song is about 3 minutes long. If you pop over to the time here, it's at by the time the reverb trails off, it's like 2:58. So we'll just call it 3 minutes. And 4/4, all that jazz. I have two bass tracks, one programmed drum track. In the last video for Mint Green, I bounced the tracks. For this one, I didn't. So you can see the individual MIDI notes we kind of got going on here. We have my Crate Digger preset here from Logic. I'll show you what I did with that. We have another preset from Logic, Spirit. It's a gated synth. We have a guitar track stack, which when you open up is two guitars, and then our main vocals. No background vocals this time. So let's just start dissecting it then. I'm going to start with the bass because that's kind of one of the most important parts of this song, if not the most important part, because that's really what kind of drives the song and gives it kind of its feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to this bass track, and I'm going to take off all of the effects here. As you can see, I have a compressor, a channel EQ, a limiter, and then I have a bus 1 send, which sends it to the space designer over here. So let's just give it a listen with the raw signal. So that riff repeats the entire time. I do have some overlap here, so even at the end here, with this other bass track, it's also the same thing. The reason why I separated it out on the two bass tracks is because this one has a slightly different reverb than the other reverb. So this one, if you listen, because I do like my reverb as much as the next guy, even a bit more. That one really just kind of makes it stick out. But if you go to the end, whenever I kind of wanted to go full circle back to like being alone, because this song's all about going from intensity to being alone, it has a little bit more of a tail. It's just kind of longer. But it's still the same bass riff. So I also want to talk about this Spirit synth because it comes in at the same time as that bass. It's just a stock gated synth from Logic. Spirit is somewhere. I don't know what that is. But I didn't touch anything over here on this side. All of this was just with the synth. So let's give that a listen on its own. So, it kind of really is the thing that gives it what Small Albums described in their review as the satellite feel, because it is a gated synth. It just kind of yeah. And originally I was gonna keep that one note just going the entire time, but I decided during the chorus thing, why not fuck around and make a chord or two? Right. So, you can't really hear it within the mix. In fact, I will show you that you can't really hear it too well in the mix. Feels okay for once. But it's definitely So that was probably, no, it was the only time that I put a synth in, until next time. Whereas in my first EP, it was all synths because I was still figuring out what the fuck I wanted to do. So that's the synth, covered the bass. Let's jump over to drums. Now, drums was something that I had done a lot of messing around with in this song. I just couldn't come to a good decision on what I wanted to do. Because originally, I had this drum track. In fact, I will show you. I had this drum track just on the crate digger. I probably should unsolo that. Right, so that's originally how I had it. So with the song, it's which, like, that's not necessarily bad. It's not. It just wasn't really the feeling I was going for, and so I decided, hey, let's throw my empty power kit on the actual thing as well. I'm not formulating words today. Why don't we do the drum kit instead? So I did. Well, I was like, that's a little better. But with the song, that still just didn't feel right. It's great, but the one thing I wanted to drive these choruses and the parts where it get more intense is that snare hit. Because really that snare hit is kind of what grabs your attention. I just want to be like, you know, so I really like the one kind of crate one sound, I think it was. Cage one. I like that sound a lot. Like, it just sounds like very powerful to me. So I just threw that with the drums, still kept the snare hit. Right. So that just feels a lot more powerful to me than just... Right. So that was my philosophy with the drums. I wanted the snare to be really hard hitting. So I just threw the same reverb that's on the bass on the drums. And that's how we got our drum sounds for this one. So, like, let's see. And feel so okay for once. So I just wanted to be just like really strong and drive the song forward. So that's that on drums. I wasn't sure at first when I was writing this song if I wanted to add a guitar track or anything, because I just liked the way it felt. So let's just hear it without that guitar track. And feel so okay for once. Which, like, it feels fine. Just like all the decisions I made was just kind of to give it a bit more complexity because the song is so repetitive. So the guitar kind of woven in there just kind of feels right. And it's funny because you can hear my finger picking, or not finger picking, my pick hitting off the strings. Sometimes in this take. It's faint, but it's there because I had my SM57 pointed at my amp maybe about 3 to 5, maybe 6 inches away from the amp, slightly offset from the cone. I would say no more than 45 degrees off center or offset. And I was sitting in a chair, maybe, a couple yards from my amp. And so you could kind of still get a little bit of that nuance of me playing because I was kind of right there, sitting at my computer, watching myself track. But the second guitar part that I weave in toward the end was just like, now I need something more. Because once you get repetitive here, I didn't really want to repeat here, and I wanted to add something new. So I added the second guitar part. So I knew I didn't want the guitar to be the main focus. In fact, I didn't even really want it to be like prominent at all, but it's still there within the song to just kind of give it a little bit more of a, the way I can think of it in my head is silky feel. I don't know if that makes any sense. My head thinks weird, but I feel silky whenever I think of that. And feels okay for once. And I have the right. Vocals, not at all complex. Just me singing the song. Taking time to myself so that I can breathe. I have my good old voice-centric plug-in here. Taking time to myself. Doubler all the way up. Because without the doubler, taking time to myself feel as thick. So that I can breathe. So I wanted that kind of thickness to it. Taking time to myself so I can function normally. If I were doing this now, I would probably throw some sort of EQ setting on here. I have it actually going to a different reverb than the other reverbs for some godforsaken reason, but apparently it sounds good. So let's pull up my channel EQ, and I'm just gonna throw a female vocal thing on here. Taking time to myself so that I can breathe. Do I have a tail end to that? Hold on. Because I feel like I cut off my syllable there. Chances are I do. This is a song where I was like so intense in the making of it that once I finished it, I was like, that's it. I'm leaving it alone. No tweaks. This is it. I don't care if it's bad. Because it was just like so intense in the writing process. I like didn't want to touch it once I was done. In fact, this is the completed version that you hear on the album, even though it doesn't sound like, I would definitely go back and change a lot. If I were to do this again, like for instance, why the fuck do I have compressor on here? Probably should have some sort of limiter or something, but instead I have a studio clipper. And it's just slamming it, which is probably not good because there could be a little bit of pumping there. Taking time to myself so that I can breathe. Oh, that's why I brought it down. Taking time to myself so I can function normally. And feel so okay for once. And I have the grasp for everyone. Right. So I just have that really spread out delay there. Or reverb. I'm out of my mind. Losing myself. You see how long that release time is? Did you hear that? Please tell me you heard that. That was my compressor just going at it. in hindsight, there's a lot of things that I would do differently if I were to mix this album again. But that's what we're dissecting it for me to show you what I did and what I think what I think I would do to make it better. So I mean, Blue Jeans, not really too complex. I could probably show you this vocal track right here.
I used to be great. I used to be wonderful.
You can hear my goddamn AC. It's just slight.
I used to be great. I used to be wonderful. Now my blue jeans are covered in blood.
Blue Jeans. Pretty easy. Y'all asked me to dissect an easy one. I want one that's like a little complex. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any more suggestions for ones that I can dissect, I actually do have all the ones I can dissect right here in my mix files. I can do circles, I can do dark cloud, I can do life theory, one day I'll speak my mind, sleepyhead, and Zeus and Murphy. Fortunately, some of them like saltwater taffy and designated smoking area, I lost the file somewhere in the void. So these are your options. Perhaps pick one, tell me what you want, tell me what you don't want. And I guess I will talk to y'all later. Goodbye.